This year I went really heavy on the geraniums. And I have these. These are my geraniums from Lowe's. And I repotted them. I thought they weren't in very good soil. So now they're starting to reward me with some blooms. And then these are the ones that I've put away from year to year. Let me get down and show you. They're my absolute favorite. They have very big red blooms. And they're sort of a dark red. And they almost look like an ivy leaf geranium. I have a feeling that's what might be called an ivy leaf geranium. They're a little bit different. The leaves are all green, but I've taken lots of cuttings of this, and it's just my absolute favorite. I love that. A jewel tone red. It's very deep red color. So I can't wait to, I have about 7 cuttings going, and next year they should really be glorious. They're still small now, and they put up a bloom or two, but hopefully by next year they'll look something like this. Got a couple over here in this pot, and they look like healthy plants. Not quite covered with blooms yet. Oh, these are over here, just give so many blooms. These are some from Lowe's as well. These are scarlet colored ones. And this giant geranium, I'm thrilled. This is my violet geranium, and I just pruned off a whole bunch of, I just deadheaded it, but it's going to put up some more blooms. But it's nice and big and healthy, and it's my best one that I grew from seed. So it's pretty amazing that it grew so big in 1 year. I have a couple more cuttings over here, 3 more. Looks like these new leaves are a little bit lighter green. And my petunias have bounced back. I gave them a good prune. Sometimes they look really leggy in July and August, and you really have to hack them back, and they will just continue to reward you with more blooms. And over here I have grown some cabbage seedlings, and I've never had much luck growing brassicas or seedlings, just from the bug pressure around here. And twice a day I come along and I sort of just swish them up and some white flies go flying, but I'm pretty amazed at how big they've gotten just in about 2.5 weeks. So I'm going to have to find a spot for those in my fall garden. We'll see if I can actually get some cabbage this year. I have one more of my favorite geranium over here, and it looks like it's about to put out a lot more flowers. But the color is just a gorgeous deep red, and it's a full bloom head there. So I just think it's spectacular. The other thing I wanted to show you on my patio were these violas, and they seeded themselves. I recognized the seedlings, so I let them grow. I had pulled out some of the original ones because they don't do well in the heat of the summer, but in the meantime, look at all these gorgeous self-seeded violas, and they're all throughout my topiary garden, which is just amazing. It's going to be a fall display. I didn't even have to do it, seeded itself. Isn't that amazing, guys? And now that the weather is starting to be cooler, especially in the mornings, there's a little bit of a cool time, and the evenings are getting cooler as well. They've started to bloom. So this is quite a thrill, guys. All different kinds of little violas coming into bloom. Isn't that wonderful? It's nice when you have flowers in your garden that you didn't even plant. And most importantly, that you really like too. These are like a dark purple. I keep focusing in on these. I think these are a little spectacular. variety here. I also wanted to mention that I had a zinnia plant get trampled by an animal, and instead of throwing away or composting the plant, I went ahead and took some cuttings. It looked so vigorous and healthy, and I just popped them down into some light soil. I've been keeping them moist, and they're in a mostly shaded area next to my house on my patio where a lot of shade is cast. And look guys, I think maybe it's taken root. This happened about a week ago, and I've just been trying to keep things moist. But I wanted to ask if any of you have any experience rooting zinnias. It just seemed like such a shame just to throw it in the compost heap. I thought, well, I have nothing to lose if I try. But I'm really hoping that I have successfully rooted some zinnias, because that would be good to know, a good propagation method for them. It takes a long time to grow from seed, but let me know if you have any experience with this. I thought this was kind of an exciting discovery, and it remains to be seen whether they'll be successful, but maybe I'll have another pot of zinnias for the fall. I'm definitely spying some new growth on there. I'll keep you updated, guys. This is the time of year when we gardeners see what we like and what we don't like and what really worked in the garden. And for me, this year, planting flowers up here in my vegetable polytunnel bed turned out to be a wonderful thing. And I particularly like this combination of pink and orange over here. I think that looks just stunning together. So I will definitely be repeating that next year. And I do think particularly the marigolds and the nasturtiums, which are starting to bloom again, have really helped with some of the pests. I actually do, here's a few of the nasturtiums back here. I actually do still have 2 of my original zucchinis. And I don't think it's a coincidence that they are also planted with those types of flowers. That's one, and then this big one over here, and they're still producing. I did lose a couple of my plants to squash vine borers, but not these. So I'm gonna give the flowers the credit. I think that's what happened. I definitely say putting flowers up here in the polytunnel vegetable garden is a thumbs up for next year. Behind my pot of ginger, which looks like it's really doing well, I have this giant cush-off squash I keep showing you, and the rind is very hard. And I've heard that when the rind gets hard, you're supposed to harvest them, but the plant still looks so healthy. The leaves are all green and luscious, and I don't think I'm gonna quite harvest it yet. I'll leave it on the vine a little bit longer. I don't know if you can see through there, but it's looking like the right color, and I certainly don't want to harvest it too early. It's almost hard to see behind all these wonderful vines. But I think once the vines, I know that they say once the tendrils dry up you can harvest them, but I'm going to give it a couple weeks, guys. One of the tricks is as you go closer to the fruit you're considering harvesting, if those tendrils are all brown and crispy, that's another sign. So I think in a couple weeks my cushaw squash will be ready to harvest. Oh, and I have 2 little cuttings back here of my favorite geraniums. Just kind of enjoying the shade of these pepper plants. My little kale patch in the back of the garden here is just covered with whitefly, but I'm hoping it survives into the fall, because once the whitefly season is over, hopefully the new leaves that come in will be nice. And I use this a lot as fertilizer. I steep the leaves and then use it as a nitrogen brew that I dilute in water. But they are looking quite vigorous. If it weren't for the whitefly, they'd be rather magnificent, but I don't like to spray anything. And I don't really like the taste of them until it gets cold. When it gets colder in the fall and before the hard freezes, they taste very sweet. So that would be the only time I would use them for eating, but not during the summer. So this is okay, and I'll just continue to grow them and see if they survive the onslaught of the whiteflies. So guys, thanks for visiting me in my garden. I hope you're having fun in yours. I'll see you next time.